Welcome to Mornings Don't Have to Suck, your go-to AM motivation and mindset podcast to start your day without the dread. In the short time we have together, you might just learn something new about yourself and how to approach your life from a new and clever perspective. I am your host, Kaylin, founder of Live Your Clever Life Coaching, and we will jump right into it today. Today, we are going to be talking about keeping the promises that we make to ourselves. And kind of the importance of that and what happens when you do it, what happens when you don't do it, and, ultimately what happens in your life when you do and do not do those things. So we're going to talk through that. As a reminder, this is my perspective, right? These are my opinions. So if they don't vibe with you or if you don't agree, that's totally okay. I'm not here to try to tell you how to think. I'm more here to provide perspective and also maybe give you, a different viewpoint on something, or maybe you have someone in your life who's dealing with this and could benefit from this. Who knows? And with that, I will ask you to, if you hear something that you think would be helpful to somebody else, send it to them. Like I'm putting this out to the world so that you can all share it and benefit from it as needed, right? Everyone needs a little something some days, and sometimes people better than they do, and being able to send them these types of things is super helpful. So keeping the promises we make to ourselves, right? What does that mean? It sounds pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but let's talk about it. So the concept itself is pretty simple, right? You decide you want to do something, you say, hey, I want to do this, and then keeping the promise to yourself means that you follow through. Simple, yes. Easy to break, 100%. I mean, think about it. How many times have you said, "Ooh, I'm going to start going to the gym tomorrow," and tomorrow's going to be the day, and then you wake up and you go, "I don't feel good. I'm really tired. Like maybe I had too much wine last night and I don't feel good. I'll go tomorrow." So think about how easy it can be to break those promises to yourself. So think about times in your life where you've declared to the world, "Hey, I'm going to do this," and then for whatever reason you didn't do it. Have like a mini conversation with yourself about that and about the why and about, was it really that important to me, or why did I flex on that? You learn a lot about yourself, and you also learn how to hold yourself more accountable. And one thing I really want to point out is, if you're millennial like me, or if you are a generation before that, oftentimes we are very good at shaming ourselves or feeling shame when it comes to breaking promises to ourselves or not following through on things. And part of my life coaching practice is to nip that. Shame has no place here. Shame, whether self-inflicted or inflicted upon someone else, it does nobody a service, right? So as we're talking through this concept and as you're reviewing those scenarios in your head, make sure you're not reviewing them from a perspective of shame, but more of a perspective of, why did I do that? And maybe I can learn to not do that the next time, right? So digging deeper into that, looking at times when you've told yourself you're going to do something and then you didn't do it, acknowledge the whys behind it, right? And then assess a future situation or something that you have coming up where you can keep a promise to yourself. And with that, let's transition away from just the concept and dig deep more into what happens on when we break the promises to ourselves. So one big thing I always like to point out with this is, if you are struggling with confidence and you are not keeping the promises to yourself that you're making, those two things are like this. So if you are declaring, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go for this goal, and then the next day you say, oh, I was just excited, and then you move on, who are you to trust yourself the next time you get excited about something, right? And I mean that from like a place of love, because I have been there many, many times, where you get so excited about something and then someone else throws their opinion in there and makes you doubt, or you start to second guess yourself because, that inner critic is always present and always making us doubt and second guess and review and say, ooh, this might be risky, whatever it might be, right? Assess what that has done for you in the past, right? And then realize the connection with your confidence, because it makes a big, big difference when you start keeping the promises to yourself. And then when you're reviewing those, in hindsight, maybe you're journaling, whatever it may be, you're able to see, oh my, I did do that. I did follow through on that. So now I can trust myself to do it again later and in the future, time and time again. The reason that I point this out and that I really want to hammer this into anybody that's willing to listen is every decision that you make, you are in charge of, right? So when opportunities present themselves for you to level up or get stronger or get a brand new opportunity that is outside of your comfort zone, if you don't trust yourself and if you don't have that confidence, you are less likely to take those opportunities. So by practicing keeping those promises to yourself in the small things like drinking water every day, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, eating breakfast every day, whatever it is to you, right? Start small. We always got to start small. Those things build self-trust. Then they build confidence. And then you are so much more willing and open to the exciting possibilities that are out there. And if you hear me say that and you go, oh, yay, another person saying like, there are opportunities out there if you look for them. I'm saying that from personal experience because as a life coach, you learn a lot about self-limitations. You learn a lot about what people are and are not willing to stretch for because it comes down to their comfort zone. And comfort zones become very, very clear. And so anything that is worth doing, anything that requires growth, anything that's going to get you to level up is outside of your comfort zone. I know you've heard that before too. But starting with by building that connection with yourself, that trust with yourself, and that confidence will take you a long way. So another thing that happens when you break your promises to yourself is you kind of dampen the connection with yourself, along with the self-trust, right? And along with the confidence. What's the basis of your relationship with yourself if you don't have trust and if you don't have all of that, right? So start to think about that. If that bothers you or if that triggers you in any way, I recommend you write it down and start to analyze why. There's probably something that happened in the past or that you didn't realize happened that has, conditioned your mind to think that way when it might not be your truth. Now, of course, we just talked about what happens when you don't keep the promises, right? And I did touch on what happens when you do. So the confidence building, I cannot tell you how important confidence is in your day-to-day thoughts, your day-to-day actions, your relationships, your friendships, everything under the sun. If you are not confident, it will change your experience, right? So making sure you're giving yourself the opportunity, right? The opportunity to keep promises to yourself and to build that confidence, it will go a long way. It really will. I'll give you an example. I'm laughing because it's me. I am also a indoor cycling instructor, so I teach spin classes twice a week. The first spin class I went to, so indoors, lights off, loud music, those people yelling, and yeah, that's me. I do that. My first class, I listened to the instructor. She's wonderful. She's a friend of mine. I listened too much, and I don't like feeling like I'm behind, like to my own detriment. And so I became sick, if you will. At the end of class, we got off the bikes, and I got out of there. I missed the group picture, had a date with the toilet, and after that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm new to this. That was not a great experience afterwards, but what if I just go back and try again? Before I went to that spin class, I would never have been like, yeah, I'll go to another one. Like that was very outside of my comfort zone, not something I was confident in. And then I went back. And here we are 7 years later, and I still do it and I still love it. And I'm now much stronger because I was open to the opportunity. And if I would have never been open to even going to that first class and having that experience and failing, in my opinion, at the time, I never would have made it here and been open to all the other things that have come from it, which life coaching is one of them. So little things like that. I know they sound cliche. I know we weren't taught to think that way, especially depending on what generation you're from, right? Some of us were taught, go to school, graduate, go to college, get married, have kids. You've done it, right? Some of us were taught to follow our hearts and our dreams and to do whatever we want. Others were taught the grind is what, like whatever you were taught, realize that that was somebody else's experience and they wanted to give that to you. You actually have a lot more in front of you and control over the opportunities that you do and don't take, as long as you're willing to see them. And I keep kind of circling back to that because changing your mind will change your circumstances. And if you want to see change, you have to be willing to feel change and experience change. And I think there's a big disconnect in society today with instant gratification and I want to be rich and I want to be a billionaire or whatever it is. I'm really aiming for a millionaire, honestly. Billionaire is too much. But just thinking about that, like, where does your focus go? If your focus falls back on keeping the promises you make to yourself and promising yourself, like, I will do this, you might start seeing a lot of those bigger things that you want happen in smaller time and eventually building up to that. So things to consider. Again, my opinions, right? So if you were like, whatever, lady, that's fine. That's fine. Maybe you didn't learn anything from this and maybe you did. But still might be shareable, still might be worth a listen for someone else. So make sure you are subscribing. Make sure you are returning here regularly. I will be making sure that I deliver any AM, topic or podcast that I can help to get your day started off on a little different of a foot, different perspective, and whatever I can do to just make your day a little bit brighter. I would love to do that. So please come back. Please subscribe. Make sure you like. And also, please follow me on Instagram, liveyourcleverlife.com. You'll see it on the screen here in a moment. But I can't wait to see more of you all. And we will be back next episode. So have a wonderful day. And I'll see you soon.